Okay, everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 of Ask the King for October 16th, 2014. If you didn't see part 1 yet on YouTube, definitely check that one out because there were some really great questions that were asked and that I answered, okay? But now we're moving right along because we've got a ton of questions to get to. The next question is from Industrial Gamer, and he asks the following. He says, "Hey, Phil, I don't know if you've heard, but Sony has decided to officially and finally close PlayStation Home on March 31st, 2015. PlayStation Home has been an annual comedic series that you've done since its beta release in 2008. My question is, will you be visiting PlayStation Home for one last time before it closes? I think longtime fans like myself would really enjoy seeing you tour it one more time, playing poker and minigames, as well as trolling the ladies. Hope to see this happen. Maybe when it finally does happen, you can give your overall review of what has to be the longest public beta in gaming ever." Well, yeah. PS Home is going away as of March 31st, 2015. And boy, what an interesting odyssey that thing has been. It basically never really had a coherent thing. It never really knew what it wanted to be. I remember when it first launched, they were like, oh, it's going to be this social thing like Second Life where you can have an avatar in there and you can, customize it through buying different clothes and stuff, and then you can talk to people all the time and you can have social interactions and friends through PS Home. But also there's going to be games that are going to be through PS Home exclusively, and there's going to be trailers and content and all kinds of stuff. And after just experiencing it once, you were like, this is kind of stupid. Like, this is really dumb. Who would spend money on an avatar for a thing that you just run around and really don't do anything interesting in? And over the years, they tried to change it. They added in all these new segments of it. Oh, there's a new world for this game and a world for this game. And ultimately, after all these years of being public beta and never actually being done and saying this is the finished product, I think that Sony gave up and said, we're already into the next generation of consoles. Why are we going to continue to support this thing that really never took off in the first place? So PS Home is going away in March. If people were being interested, yes, what I would like to do is probably the day before it goes offline, when probably undoubtedly the most people ever are going to jump on this thing to see it end, I would like to go on there and see the end of PS Home. And it'll be interesting to see that final segment of what it is. I'm sure they're probably not really doing much new content for it anymore to see if there even is anything new. But I would definitely like to check it out one last time and just mess around with people in it. So look for that coming this March. And obviously as March approaches, remind me of it so that I remember. Okay, guys? Okay, next question is from Litariel, and he asks the following. He says, 2 years ago, you uploaded a video called A Day in the Life of DSP, Why I Do What I Do, where you discussed your daily schedule and the stuff that you do, on a daily basis. Now that you've settled down in Seattle and made changes to your routine, is it possible that you will make another video in the future to update what you do on a regular basis or talk about changes here? Thanks. See, that's interesting because he's absolutely right. I remember when I made that video, a lot of people had said, Phil, we want to see your day-to-day stuff. We want to see how you operate, how you work, and why you explain to us why you do it that way. Now, keep in mind, back in 2012 when I made that video, it was a much different thing. I was still one of the few people who was using a digital camera to record gameplay instead of direct capture. I was not live streaming. I lived by myself in Connecticut. I had a much more flexible schedule than I do now. I wasn't living with my girlfriend at the time. There's a lot of things were a lot different back then. And now for me to do a day in the life video now, okay, versus then would be insanely different. Like seriously, insanely different. And I think people would like it. I'm not sure how I would do it because it's kind of like, how do I explain what I do when I get up? The first thing I do is this, and then I head in and I start working, and then I do this, and then I go on break and I have dinner and I do chores and then I do this. Could I walk around and actually show you that live, or is it more of maybe I film several videos during the day and I edit that into like a montage to really show you overall? Well, all the lights went out outside again. What the hell? To show you overall during the day how it works. I think I'd have to figure it out. I have to find a balance of how exactly that would work perfectly. But I think it might be something interesting that that people are interested in. However, that being said, it's not something that I'm going to be doing anytime soon because I'm so busy right now during the hardcore gaming season. And as soon as those 2 weeks hit in November, where it is just insane amount of releases and it's going to take me into December, I'm just going to be nuts and insanely busy. But perhaps coming back from December, and next year I can do something like that. Okay, next question is from King M USA, excuse me. He says, "Hey Phil, huge fan since Modern Warfare 2. I love your stuff. It's so dark in here right now because the sun went away. It's so weird. I've always been interested in your thoughts on the Howard Stern show. You mentioned a couple of times that you enjoy listening to him, but never really went into detail about it, and I was wondering." And so he has a laundry list of questions here about the Howard Stern show, so let's go through them quickly. Number one, what do you think of his show now since he's older, and do you think he's still relevant? I'm going to be honest with you guys. Since Howard Stern left terrestrial radio and went to satellite radio, he lost a shitload of listeners. Because, let's face it, something that's free versus something that you pay for, you're always going to get a loss there, okay? And I was one of the people who made the jump to satellite radio when Howard Stern left terrestrial radio. And I'll be honest, for the first few years, I really enjoyed the content. I thought it was really well done. They had a lot of uncensored stuff. The last 2 years of Howard Stern, I really feel, is kind of like his swan song. And what I mean by that is I just don't think there was much reason to even tune into him anymore. You listen to his opinions on stuff, and he's really uneducated on a lot of the stuff he's talking about, like almost like he just doesn't really care anymore. You know, when he was young, he would be really opinionated on an issue to the point where he would dig at someone, and he would attack people, he would make fun of people, he would do all this crazy stuff, and now, as he's getting older, I hate to say it, he seems to be turning into his parents. Like, he used to make fun of his parents for being like these kind of typical Jewish people who complain about everything, and now every day when you tune into the Howard Stern show, the first thing you hear is Howard Stern complaining about everything, and it's like, okay, he literally turned into his parents. And I don't know if he's self-aware enough to look in the mirror and see that. A lot of the times he thinks he's the most relevant person. You see him on America's Got Talent. He says, "I am America's judge," when in reality, a lot of America don't even really listen to him or know what his thoughts are on anything anymore. So, anyway, unfortunately, I have to say, I used to really like his content. At this point, I didn't really listen to it for almost a year, and then when I got my new car, when I moved here to Washington, they forgot to put the satellite radio in it, and I don't even have satellite radio anymore, so the only way that I could listen to Howard Stern is on my PC, and I have not even done it once. So, unfortunately, no, I have not listened to Howard Stern, and I think he is kind of out of touch, and really, I don't really find his stuff that too good anymore, okay? Next question. When was your first time listening to the show? It was back in high school. I remember during the morning drive from my home to high school, I used to fiddle with the radio as my mom was driving. This was before I had my driver's license, and we would go through different shows. I remember listening to him in the morning a few times. I found him funny. What were your favorite bits on the show? Now, that's just wild, because he did so much crazy stuff over the years, whether strippers in the studio, the grandmother-aged porn star, some of the crazy things with Richard and Sal over the years, the phony phone calls were hilarious, the stuff with Jackie the Joke Man Martling, some of the bits and shit that he did, what was it, the German guy that they did, who always was supposed to be like almost like a Nazi, and he would say really messed up stuff about the Jews, but it was all funny because it was not. You were supposed to do like an over cartoonish character of this. Of course, everyone took it the wrong way and got insulted, but he just had so many great bits over the years that really, you know, still resound with me. I'll be honest, a lot of my comedy stuff kind of comes from the Howard Stern show or that style of comedy. Favorite Whack Packers? Geesh. I mean, there was of the Whack Pack, so many. The classic ones from back in the day, the newer ones from the satellite years. Obviously, the ones in my mind are the newer ones from the satellite years because those are the closer years. And obviously, Eric, the actor, who unfortunately just passed away recently, rest in peace. Bigfoot, he was real funny. Of course, you got the classic, I forget her name, from the woman from Brooklyn. I forget her name. Anyone who knows her voice sounds like a fucking crow. She's on all the time. She's funny. You know, so many different characters that have come out of that show that really, if you're in the Howard Stern universe, you see them as like celebrities, and if you're outside of the Howard Stern universe, you're like, who the fuck are you talking about? And, oh, Beetlejuice, of course, Beetlejuice. I have to mention him. Thoughts on Artie Lang? Did you like him or did you prefer Jackie Martling? I don't think you could really like one over the other because they're completely different styles of comedy. Jackie Martling was kind of like this crazy laugh, and he'd have these really dirty jokes and weird observations about things. Artie Lang was more kind of a self-deprecating style comedian with an Italian flair and all this stuff from Brooklyn and stuff like that, Jersey references. So I really liked them both. I actually was very, very sad when Artie unfortunately tried to commit suicide and ended up basically never being on the show again after that. I don't know what the situation was. No one really knows what the actual situation was around that. And I felt that the show kind of lacked after he left a lot. It was a big personality, a big person who's just gone from the show that I knew and loved, taken out of the formula. And honestly, that was started the time when I stopped liking it so much, because it became more about Howard bitching about everything than having Artie interject funny stuff. So, all right, so those are all his questions. So there you go. My know-how on the Howard Stern Show, and quite honestly, I probably will never talk about it again because I don't listen to it anymore. I fell out of love with it over the past couple of years. I don't even have the satellite radio in my car anymore, and that's just the sad fact and reality of it. Okay. Next question is from Cody Carls, and he says, so now that you have lived in Washington for a little while, how has the air treated you? Do you feel like your congestion is getting any better? Are you waiting until you get that damn healthcare card situation cleared to figure that one out? So I have some updates. First of all, as you guys probably know, I've mentioned this in pre-streams, I have healthcare now. I got my healthcare card, and in fact, today I got my welcome packet. Finally, I have freaking healthcare. Okay, so in that regards, I'm good. If I need to go to the doctor, I can. Of course, the problem now is we're in the middle of the busiest gaming time of the year, and I can't really take time out to go to a doctor appointment. So right now, it's kind of on hiatus. Probably, again, I know I keep saying next year, but come next year when things slow down, probably one of the first things I'm going to do is go to the doctor and get a physical and get checked out. Okay. All right. So what else? In regards to my health and my, as you can hear, my throat and all that. If you guys have noticed, since I moved out here, I have not lost my voice. My voice, I told you, I haven't had any swelling or real soreness in my throat. Now, you do hear me clearing my throat and snorting a little bit and still doing that. And that's because I have postnasal drip, and that's not just going to go away because the air quality is better. And also, I know I have a minor fungal infection. I was diagnosed with this fungal infection in Connecticut right before I moved. And they gave me medicine at that point, and I took the medicine for like 4 days, and then when I moved, I don't know where it went. I literally got here, I'm like, where is this medicine? And we couldn't find it, and it's not in any of the stuff that was packed, and it's gone. So then I didn't have health care, and I couldn't go back to the doctor to get the medicine again. So what I need to do when I go for this checkup, you know, in January, I need to explain to them, listen, I know I probably have this minor fungal infection. I need this medicine again so I can properly take it for probably a month and get rid of this infection, because it never went away. It's still there. So I figure once that's gone, okay, then maybe I could get, gee, what do I do for postnasal drip? How do I, you know, cure that? Is there a cure, or is it just an ongoing treatment? I need to talk to a doctor about it, and that's the bottom line. I need to see a doctor, and I can't do it right now, but in a couple months I will. Okay, next question. From oh, wait, I almost skipped one. This one is actually from... All right, this is a really serious question, everyone. This is a very serious question, and I know that some people are going to be dicks about it, but I want you to understand I want to address this because this is a very important subject that a lot of people deal with on a daily basis, or know people who deal with this on a daily basis, okay? This one is from King of Kings 5400, and he asks the following question. Hi, Phil. I've got a question regarding depression. Several YouTubers have from time to time come forth and said that they are depressed and talked about their depression. I don't know who most of them are, but I've noticed their videos and watched some of them. The big one that comes to mind is actually Hutch, who had depression a few years back. They talk about the pressure and anxiety that comes with having a YouTube channel, and how it's a big weight on their life, and how it can ruin their personal life. My question or questions is this. Have you experienced any kind of depression during your time on YouTube? Or how have you dealt with the pressure or anxiety that may come from having a bigger YouTube channel? Thanks from a longtime fan and viewer. Okay. First of all, I want to give you guys the honest truth on this, okay? And you might be surprised at the actual answer to it, all right? And I'm not going to go too much into the details, but I do want to let you guys know that at one point in my life, I actually did battle depression. Incidentally, though, it was actually before I started YouTube. It was actually a set period of time that was probably between, I would say, probably 1 to 2 years into when I had that office job that I talked about. That was my full-time job when I was first starting off. Probably, I'd say, until about maybe, I don't know, maybe a year to a little bit less than a year before I started YouTube, all right? And it was pretty bad. It was to the point where, like, I would get up in the morning and I would say, I really don't like the situation I'm in. I'm stuck living with my parents. I don't have money. You know, I got kicked out of 2 jobs. I'm in big financial debt. And, you know, I don't have a girlfriend. I'm in no kind of a situation where I could even start dating a girl because I live with my parents and I have no money. And I'm working this job that really I don't feel I'm being appreciated at. And when you really wake up in the morning and you have no positive thing to really look forward to, that's when this can start to happen. At least that's when it started happening to me. Was what I don't really have anything to look forward to today. You know, I'm going to go to work and not like it. I'm going to come home and be all worn out. And what am I going to do at night? I don't know. I'll probably have a drink. I'll be honest, I started drinking a lot during this period of time, and that only compounds depression when you try to get a substance to compensate for the depression, okay? And, you know, it's funny because people around you, it's very easy to hide depression, and people around you probably won't know that you have depression if you hide it well. There were people who I had known for years. There were people who I was friendly with and co-workers with daily who had absolutely no clue that I was depressed. I would even say my parents probably don't even know that I was depressed, okay? And that's how serious of an illness it can be, is that it eats away the inside of you, and no one can see it. It's not like, oh, you got a cut on your face, you're hurt. No, it's like, you know, it's something that no one knows about, no one can even possibly see, and then all of a sudden, one day you start having crazy thoughts, all right? And I'm not going to go too much into detail about my personal situation because the bottom line is I'm out of it, all right? I came out of it. I ended up starting doing positive changes for my life, including buying that condo in Connecticut, moving out, and finally making fun videos for people on the internet that ended up catching on, got very popular. People really enjoyed the videos. It changed my life. I started making money. I was able to get myself out of the financial hole that I was dug in. I ended up finally getting laid off from that job that I really wasn't appreciated at and ended up doing this full time. And since then, I mean, things have only gotten better. And a lot of people might say, oh, but Phil, your views are down or whatever. How could I possibly complain about my life? Just have some perspective here. I went from living with my parents to having my own condo and having my own business, making my own schedule, having money, dating women, finally having a full-time girlfriend who I want to be with, moving out of that situation, moving up to a better house out here in Washington. You know what I mean? Like, how could I possibly sit here and say I complain and be depressed? You know, I have nothing but positive shit to say. And yes, daily I may bitch about this or that little thing, but understand that that's not me as a whole, how I see my life. My life is great. And I have no condition to sit here and just bitch about stuff all day and say that I'm not overall happy. Overall, I am very happy with my life situation, okay? But, even then, depression can be so bad that even if everything around you is good, it could still fucking eat at you. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. There are days when I wake up and, you know, I'm like, damn, that game that I'm playing that I may be enjoying really isn't catching on with the viewers. They're not liking the content that I'm putting out, apparently. At least that's how they're speaking with their view. They're not watching. They're not showing up for the stream. I go to my forums and all I see are negative threads about how Phil needs to do this to improve and Phil needs to change this about himself and Phil needs to really live up to this and this and this, and no positive reinforcement. It's all negative reinforcement. Negative, negative, negative. So then I go to Twitter and I see, fuck you, you piece of shit. You're a horrible gamer. You don't deserve to get any views or money. Fuck you. The other day I got a tweet, stop Gamergate because Gamergate is so bad at this point it makes DSP look like a good person. When I get that kind of stuff, I mean, it's easy to say, oh, just brush it off, it's the internet. But when you get that much negativity at once, it can add up. And I could have a day where at one point I was feeling good and all that shit hits me and it's like, fuck, man. You know, that really makes me feel like shit and sad because I thought that I was doing something positive and fun for everyone. And this was a great movement of, you know, being an independent gamer and being able to speak my mind. And people wanted to hear the stuff that I had to say and people wanted to watch me play games because they found it entertaining. And then all of a sudden, hit with a wave of fucking negativity. It can get to you, all right? But far be it from me, okay, to say that any of that stuff would ever make me go back to where I was. Because I was literally standing on the edge at one point with the amount of drinking that I was doing and the fact that I was just so negative about everything and hating my life and hating everything around me. And I'm so different now. I'm going to be honest with you guys. You guys, the viewers who have stuck with me, you guys who basically supported me the whole way through, no matter what was going on, no matter what lame brain thing I said, no matter if views were high or low, if I was on the high of a high or a low of the wave of popularity that I had on YouTube, you guys coming back and saying that you appreciate my content and you find me entertaining and that I put a smile on your face during a day when otherwise you were depressed, that makes me feel good, and it makes me know that I can never go back to where I was. My life has so dramatically changed positively that in no way, shape, or form, even if all this ended today and YouTube shut down and I made no money and I had to go out and get a 9-to-5 job somewhere that I really fucking hated, at no point could I say I could go back to where I was in that depression, because I had this time to share with you that was so overwhelmingly great. Okay? So, in that regard, you know, I don't think I would ever go back there. Now, he in particular, King of Kings, is talking about other YouTubers who may be feeling these great influences, the pressure of having a channel and all that, right? I absolutely can empathize with those people, because I've been there. Like I said, I'll be playing a game and, wow, I love this game. This game is great. I'm really enjoying it. And then all I get is negative feedback about how I sucked at the game, and people saying, you're doing your YouTube channel wrong. You should be doing it this way, not this way. You know, and it's funny because all the changes that I've instituted over the past 2 years, including direct capture, live streaming, completely revamping my website, completely revamping my YouTube page, all right? All these positive changes that overall, if you looked at my content from 2 or 3 years ago and you compared it to my content today, I don't think anyone would say that the content is worse. You have to say the visual quality is better, the auto quality is better. You're the same guy. You didn't change over the years. You're still enjoying the games. You're still having fun, especially with playthroughs like Alien Isolation, where it was a game that was like a gem, a diamond in the rough after, you know, all this dead time, and me really enjoying the playthrough. People love it. So in that regard, you know, all the positive things I've done, yet there's still, if you go to my forums, I shit you not, you will see every time, Phil really needs to change. Phil's not doing this right. Phil, and it's like, how much do you want me to change? Do you really want me to just be a cookie cutter of everyone else out there? Because I could do that. I could literally stop putting out gameplay videos the way I do, okay? I won't stream everything like I do. I'll record most of my stuff offline. I'll edit it so there's all effects and stuff. I'll edit out the fails. I'll make it a highly stylized video with effects. You know, I will do half-an-hour videos instead of 10 to 15-minute videos like I normally do. And I will upload 2 videos daily instead of the multiple videos that I do. It'll take me months to finish a single playthrough, right? I could easily be like them. But for me, the point is, I don't want to be like them. I want to be me. Right? I want to do things the way that I find them enjoyable. I want to sit here and play games and share that with you on a daily basis. I don't want to become a highly stylized video editor. Regardless of the fact that maybe the viewers may be leaning towards that, and a lot of people are saying, well, I'm not going to watch Phil anymore. I'd rather go watch that highly stylized stuff. Fine. As long as I can be me and I can make a living doing it, I don't care that I'm not super YouTube popular like I was 2-3 years ago when I was getting 50,000 views on the first 10 videos of every playthrough that I did. I don't need that. You can go watch other people who want to be like that. I want to be genuine and real with myself, and I want to enjoy games for the sake of enjoying them, not for making an entertainment product for a viewer who wants to see an over-budget, over-produced fucking playthrough. But for me, to go to my website and I see all negative shit when I thought that I was doing something right and all I see is negative, 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 yes, it eats away at you. It does. And I can understand someone who maybe has a popular YouTube channel and all of a sudden they get a sway of opinion against them, or God forbid, they speak out about something and it's against the common opinion, and now everyone says that they're wrong and fuck them, don't watch this person's content because they had this one opinion about something. If anything, for me, I don't understand how the internet has to be so polarized, right? That there's a right and a wrong. There's not. In the world, there's many, many shades of gray. And it's okay for you to disagree with something that someone says, especially if it's a very uncommon opinion, and still enjoy the stuff that they put out. If I say I don't like basketball, for whatever reason, I just don't like it, right? Does that mean that you can't continue to watch all of my other playthroughs? What does that affect anything? Nothing. But people literally make this an issue, and then they attack you with slander. They attack you with this. And I'm speaking firsthand, but I can only imagine with someone who is even bigger than me on YouTube, the shit that they must go through, right? PewDiePie said, fuck my comments, and disabled his comments completely on his videos. I'm sure for multiple reasons, but I'm sure that's one of them. When kids are coming to watch your content and all you see is dicks and shit and fuck PewDiePie and fuck this and fuck that. It's like, come on. So it does add up. It adds up, and it does become a big negative, overwhelming ball of negativity. And it does. People have said, you know, there are days when I'm pissed off and I'll come on stream and I'll bitch and my gameplay isn't up to par and everything because it affects me. But let me tell you this, I promise you that I will not go back to where I was at that one low point in my life when I just basically didn't want to get up anymore. I was at to the point where I don't see any reason to exist today. At this point, now that I have a positive influence on people, the fact that I'm making creative content that people are finding entertaining and inspiring on a daily basis, and all the overwhelming positive messages that I've gotten over the years, there's no way that I would ever stop, and there's no way that I would ever, you know, put myself back into that situation. I know that what I'm doing makes a difference. I know that what I'm doing is entertaining and is a good positive thing. I know that now thanks to you. Back then, I didn't think there was anything positive that I could do with my life, and now that I know that regardless of what the common opinion is about what videos should be and how someone should act, I know that I still can be some kind of a positive influence on people. And thank you very much for that, okay? Okay. Next question is from, let's see here, Silton of Swing, and he asked the following. He says, hey Phil, I just wanted an update on the situation on your back injury. Are you currently saving up to pay for surgery since you now live with Panda Lee and you have a large home to yourselves? Again, this all kind of goes together with what I've been saying about the healthcare. That it took me forever to get the healthcare, so it was never a concern until I finally got the healthcare stuff, which I literally just got. I know I'm not going to have time to see a doctor until next year, okay? The good news is my back is pretty much great. Sure, every once in a while I get occasional pain, but I've had no sharpshooting pain. I've had no numbness. I've had none of that for over 6 months. So at this point, I think if my disc is still herniated, it's nowhere near as herniated as it was thanks to the lifestyle changes that I made for myself, okay? That being said, am I against getting something done to it? No, because now surgery has progressed. I don't know if you guys know this. Surgery has progressed. Most people don't even cut into, like with physical, you know, knives or whatever, don't cut into the disc anymore. Now it's all laser surgery, which apparently is way more safe, and it could actually be way more effective. Now, there's still risk involved, okay? And I'll be honest, laser surgery is probably insanely expensive. Insanely expensive. So, in that regard, in that vein of thinking, it's still a consideration and a worry for me. Would I like to permanently get my back fixed? Absolutely, but it's not guaranteed, even if you get the laser surgery, that it'll go properly. And just imagine this. Just imagine I get the laser surgery. It doesn't help. It might even make my back worse. And then I have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for the surgery. Right? So, it's a concern. Right now, I'll be honest with everyone. I've said this over the past few months, and I'll say it again. Basically, I don't have any money. I really don't have any money right now. Right now, when I moved to this house and I furnished this house, I tapped my finances. And it's going to take me a year probably. I mean, it started in June, me spending on this place. Probably it's going to take me about a year to financially get to a situation where all the bills are now paid down, the credit cards are down, the financing is down, and now I feel like I have some credit freed up that if I needed to get the surgery, I have the ability to pay for it. Right now, I don't. I just don't. Okay? So it is not a concern for me right now because, number one, I'm not in pain, and number two, I know I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford it. In the future, could I? Absolutely. In a year or two, you know, I get everything back to a better situation, and now I am living in a house with Panda Lee, and now I have the money to do it, then maybe I'll consider it, but right now it's not a concern. Okay. Next question is from Jam Crumpet. And he says, hey Phil, as a longtime viewer, I've seen that many, if not all of your various series, one of them that I noticed is that in the past, you usually filmed a Hateful Truth game review for every game that you completed. Now, due to your more strict time constraints, you've actually cut back a lot on how many Hateful Truth reviews that you do. My question is, after seeing very few of these recently, what is it that decides that a game will get a review? As an example for this time period, Middle-earth got a review, while Hyrule Warriors has not. So what are your factors that you're using when you choose whether a game will be reviewed? Okay? Thanks very much. Once more, from Jam Crumpet. I actually have covered this before in the past, but I guess every once in a while it's worth reiterating. In order for me to review a game, there's a few factors. Number one, I need to complete the game. I don't want to review a game unless I beat it. There'll be very few examples where I don't. For example, Dark Souls 1 was one of the ones where I quit on the game, but I realized the game was still quite good, and I gave it a good review, okay? But in 99% of cases, I want to complete a game before I review it. So, if I take 3-4 weeks to beat a game, now I'm going to review it, and it's like, well, the game's already been out for a month or two. Most people who wanted to hear a review went and heard another review. They're not waiting for mine. Okay, a perfect example of that is Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. Excuse me. I didn't do a review of it because it took me a month to beat the game, and by the time that I'd beaten it, most people had already either played it themselves or heard someone else talk about it. I don't think anyone was going to care if I reviewed the game. However, during my year-end stuff, remember, I do the top 10 most disappointing games, the top 10 best games, maybe the top 10 games you didn't play. And in those series, I try to focus on games that maybe I didn't review or there's stuff that I could talk about. That's when those games will pretty much get fleshed out, okay? Number two, I try not to review a game unless I've played all of the game modes, or I feel that the game modes that I've played are sufficient to review the game. So, perfect example to what Jam Crump has said here. I didn't play all the game modes of Hyrule Warriors. I only played the story. That was it. And the game has like an adventure mode and a challenge mode. It has like 2 or 3 other modes that I just don't have time to play. So it would be unfair for me to review that game based only on the story portion and not the other. I don't know what other replayability the game has because I didn't bother with it, all right? The flip side of that would be a game like Alien Isolation, where I actually played the campaign and the 2 DLCs, but I never played the survivor mode. I actually felt that based solely on the campaign and the 2 DLCs that I could review the game fully because the survivor mode seemed to be just tacked on to say that there's going to be replayability, when in a game like that, you really don't need replayability. It's meant to be a narrative experience. So, it all depends on the game. It depends on the situation, it depends on how much I've played it, and also depends on time constraints. There are games that I play and I just don't have time to review them. That's the bottom line, because there's other stuff coming up or other games coming out that I want to play. One thing that I do want to make clear is that I will not review old games. I've played a lot of retro games, especially this summer. I played a lot of retro games, and I didn't review them. People are like, why didn't you review it? Because it's an old game. This game's been reviewed for a decade. Why do you need to hear my review of it? If you want to hear my review, you got it when I played the game, and I gave you my feedback when I played the game. Now, one thing that eventually I would like to get better at is when I play shorter games and or indie games, maybe giving you a first impressions / at least summary of my thoughts on those. For example, Valiant Hearts this past summer was like one of the best indie style games I've ever played. I don't think it really was an indie game. I think Ubisoft published it, but it was still, it had the style of an indie game. It was a digital-only release. It was incredibly good. I really, really enjoyed the game, but most people stayed away from the playthrough and said, oh, I don't know what this is. I don't want to see a game about World War I. That's a game that deserves a ton of attention and didn't get it, and that's the kind of game that I wish I did review, but I didn't have time at the time. So, those are kind of my criteria when it comes to that, okay? I think we got time for one more quick question before a break. Yeah, here we go. From the Tyrant, he says, Phil, I would like to see a new segment called DSP Tries It Drunken Gaming. Is there any possible potential for this to happen in the future? And I think the reason that he says this is because everyone knows that when I first started on YouTube in 2008, 2009, and I was just getting started, that time to time I would have a few drinks before I started recording stuff. And in particular, my Fallout 3 playthrough, there was a whole several-hour segment where I was drunk and I was wandering around. I couldn't tell what was going on, and people were, you know, I was agitating townsfolk and fighting them, and I got into a big fight and killed a whole town's worth of people by, you know, inadvertently. And then after that, I didn't even reload my save. I said, fuck it, let it fly, because I did it, right? Would people like to see that as a series? Yes, it wouldn't be something frequent. Maybe once a month I would do it, or once every couple of weeks. What would it be is the question. Like, what games would I play while I'm inebriated? Definitely don't want to be in the middle of a playthrough. Oh, now I'm going to do 4 hours drunk. And it's like, well, that's not going to work out, right? I wonder if people would like to see me do games that I've already played and replay it. You know, while semi, you know, buzzed or whatever. I don't know. Give me your opinions in the comments of this video and on Twitter. I see some stream chat comments right now about it, and we'll see if people have a, oh wow, this would be a great game to see Phil replay, you know, buzzed or whatever. Okay. One thing that could actually be is I I actually have Mercenaries 2. Remember, that was one of the first games I ever played on YouTube, and I never did a full playthrough. I only did highlights of it, and I played it mostly drunk. I could probably play that game again drunk. That would be pretty funny, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, so anyway, that's it. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and I still got a ton of questions, guys, so I don't know if we're going to have 1 or 2 more parts. We'll have to see, but anyway, I'll be right back with more Ask the King. If you're watching this on YouTube, scoot over to part 3, which should be live shortly or is live. If you're watching this on Twitch, stick in there. After a couple of minutes and a commercial break, I'll be right back with more. Thanks a lot, everyone. I'll see you in a couple minutes.